Hi everyone. In my last video I mentioned that I wasn't going to finish this up, but in retrospect I probably should do it, so I wanted to just clean up the rest of this and fix a couple things that I did that probably weren't the greatest best practices. Alright, so let's go back to this piece over here. This is my timer countdown, and in here I started just putting the timer in here. But again, I'm not, I have this view model. The idea is that this view model should really be kind of where all the calculations happen, all the engines, all the, functions are, and then the views really just display, what happens. And so I decided that let me go ahead and actually do it the right way, right? So let's just start with this timer countdown. So I'm going to import the, well, not import, I'm going to create the observed variable, the observed object, sorry, my view model, right? So we've had my view model there, quiz engine VM. So again, we're going to keep bringing in this view model that I keep passing around. And then now in the content view, I'm going to also pass in the view model. So go over here, we'll just put the view model in here. Again, the view model that we defined up here. Here, I'm going to get rid of all of this current score. We're not going to keep track of the current score here. We're also not even going to have the timer in here. This should be kept within this quiz engine view model. So I'm going to remove all of that. And I'm just going to remove all of this. Okay. So current score is not going to work because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something like, progress view 0.1 will show basically 10% of the way there. This preview I'm actually just going to remove for now, but you get the idea. You know what, I'll just do it. I think this should work, and you'll basically see 10%. However, there is another way to do progress view, which I'm sure most of you know, but you can do a value and then you can have a total. So in my kids quiz app game, Kahoot, the total score you can get is 1,000. It counts down from there. So, if you're at like 800, that's what your progress bar will look like. So what we'll do is we're going to do this. And the reason I put 0.0 here is just to make it a float. But the reason I'm going to have it basically count down from 1,000. Maybe every half a second they'll lose 10 points. And then wherever they answer, that's what they'll get. All right, so let's do that. Let's get into the quiz model here, though, and start defining some of these variables. So let's go down here. This is, the number correct. This is where we defined a bunch of other things. This is advancing to the next question. Probably should clean this up later, but let's just start over here. We're gonna this is for the timer, so we're gonna set up this timer, and we are also going to have a published score. So the reason I'm doing a published variable is because I could have done probably just a variable like this. But what will happen is when I ask it to update the progress view, the progress view won't realize that the score is changing, and it won't refresh. Let's actually leave it like this, and we'll see what happens, and then we'll go from there. All right, and then we also have, I'm going to call this the variable total score. Right, this will keep track of keeps track of the total score. All right. And this will be score per question, something like this. All right. Also, in my kind of results view that we're calling it right now, we're just showing both the turkey for winning or losing. I'm actually going to pull in the 2 more pictures, and we'll just call it happy. I downloaded it online, but one is a happy bird, and one is a sad penguin. So what will happen is if you are, if you get it correct, you are the happy bird. If you don't get it correct, you're the sad penguin. Did I get that right? Happy bird, sad penguin. Let's see if that's right. Happy bird, sad penguin. All right. So let's see if this will render correctly. And while that's rendering, we're going to go back. Oh, there we go. So you got it right. You get the happy bird. If you got it wrong, you get the sad panda. All right? Better luck next time. All right. So let's finish this up. So let's go back to this view model. We got the timer. We got the total score. Let's create the actual function to start the timer. Alright, so this is going to start our timer. And let's make the self score equal to 1,000. So at the end, you know what, let's leave this out for now so you can kind of see what my logic is going. So we're going to do timer is equal to timer dot schedule timer, and we're going to do the with time interval one. So I said every half a second this will repeat, and the block enter should open up, and we'll call it time in, here's my code. So if self.score is greater than 0, so basically if the score is still 1,000, then self.score will just subtract 10 from it. And just for debugging, let me just add some your current score is, and we'll just do self.score. So let's do that just so we can see what's going on. Else print timer done, and once the timer is done, we will actually invalidate the timer. All right. So this code should start with the score here of 1,000, because that's where I defined it, and it'll subtract 10 every half a second, and then when it's done, it'll invalidate the timer, and that's my goal here. So now I have to start the timer somewhere, and it makes the most sense to start this timer really in the navigation view. So I'm sorry, not the content view. So within the content view, you know, we'll when you load it up, we'll just do on appear. We will perform the function, which is the vm.start timer. All right. So now let's see what this looks like. Let's see if it even builds correctly. Okay. So you can see down here the score is actually counting down, but this thing is not updating at all, mainly because I forgot to change that view. So let's go back to that view, timer countdown, and in this value I'm going to actually call it vm dot, and we called it score, I believe, right? So let's try that again. So the hope is cannot convert type double. Okay, so let's do float. This a float, and let's go from there. See if that fixes it. All right. So the hope is the score is going down, right? You can kind of see it here. It's counting down, but this progress bar is not changing at all. And that's really because of the property wrapper that I put around score. So if we go back to my quiz engine, the score doesn't really have a property wrapper, but I want to make it published, right? Because it's going to change. So let's see. So published, it basically what published does is that if something changes in the score, the view will refresh. So let's try this now. All right, so you can see the progress bar going down. The score is now counting down as well. So let's see if this works. If I hit Alaska, which I think is the right answer, got it right. Next question. Male turkey is called a tom or a gander. Okay, so you can see immediately some of the problems, right? This thing is still counting down. It didn't reset. And not only that, it's counting down twice as fast. All right, and I'm going to run out of time. So whatever I get. See, now it continues to hit the timer done over and over. So I'm done with the quiz. I got one question right. So what we need to do is we need to go over here, and we actually should also go up here, and let's reset the score. So self.score is equal to 1,000. So every time we start the timer on a new load of the content view, we want to make sure that we make the score 1,000. What else do we need to do? All right, so we have the score, but now we need to add the score up, right? So as you recall, when they select their choice in the results, right there, this is correct. And over here, originally I did this weird let_hack thing to run the got it correct function, and I know people are not happy about that. So there are many ways to do it, but really I think the best way is actually to move it out of this and into the answer view, right? So the idea is that if when they select their answer, we can actually just run this function. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and we'll leave this here for now, but we'll go over the choice grid view. And as you recall, for each navigation link, there is, I want to send it to the results view, and I'm also going to pass them the choice. But here, immediately, once they've made their selection, I can already check whether or not they have the right answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a simultaneous gesture. I could also do like an on-tap gesture, but sometimes I get weird behaviors with that. I find simultaneous gestures actually a little bit more predictable in its behavior, but again, it's up to you. So certainly we could do a dot on tap gesture and have something happen here. So what I'm going to do here is delete all of this, and what I'm going to do is let me make sure I do this right. I don't need to have this, but basically I'm going to just say if their choice is correct, if it's correct, then we're going to just run that got it correct. So we'll run it from over here. I just want to make sure this is accurate. That's right. And then back over here in our results view, I'm not going to run this at all. So I'm just going to delete it. So let's see what's going on here in our got it correct. Let's actually make sure it works. So we're going to run it. All right, so score is counting down. I'm going to say Alaska. Got it right. Score is still counting down, so we'll hit next question, and it reset. But it is counting twice as fast because we haven't invalidated the timer correctly. But we'll say it's Tom, and I got 2 of them right. Score is still counting down because we haven't invalidated the timer, and it's still going faster. So we need to invalidate the timer also when they get it correct, right? Once they make the choice, we could stop the timer. So let's go back to our view model. And once they make the choice, let's immediately invalidate that timer. Because it doesn't matter anymore, right? We don't need it anymore. So we've invalidated the timer. And we've added the number correct. Let's just add some debugging statements. I like to usually do this just to make sure I'm on the right track. Your total number correct is, and we'll do just same thing. I'm just going to copy this. Right. And total, so we want to add this total score, right? So I have this total score here. Total score is equal to total score plus self score. All right. So basically what it's doing is it's whatever the self score is, whatever this value is, it's going to add it to the total score. And let's just go ahead and print that out as well, just to see what we have. Print your total score is and we'll just print out that total score variable. All right, so now we have this got it correct, which will add my score and it'll count the number that I have correct. And let's see how this works now. We'll take a look at this console here and make sure that we get it right. All right, so look, it's counting down, which is great. And then we're going to say they pick Alaska. So your total number is correct. Your total score is 870. That's great, right? So that was 870 when I hit the button. Next question. It's counting down again. I'm going to get this one wrong. So let's say it's a gander. All right. Sorry. Better luck next time. Congrats, you're done with this quiz. You got one question right. I didn't invalidate the timer on an incorrect choice. So let's just make sure we do that too. So on a incorrect choice, we actually don't really have anything there, but we do advance to the next question. So let's invalidate the timer here. We should really invalidate the timer earlier, but for now, let's just invalidate it on the next question. And I think all of this looks good, right? We'll invalidate the next question. That way, if you answer it wrong, the timer doesn't keep going. All right, so that looks good so far. I think the last thing to do is just in your answer choice, let's print everything out, right? So I'm gonna copy all of this. So congrats, you're done with the quiz. You got so many questions right. Let's say also your score is, let's do this actually. I'm gonna cut this, and then we'll just do another reusable text here, and I'll just to make this a little cleaner. You got X questions right, and I'll make the size like 20, so it's not as big. And your total score is, and we will just pull up that total score. All right, so I think this is pretty good. So let's try this and see what happens. All right, so it's counting down. Let's say I get it wrong. Why? All right. This timer's still going. Again, you should probably invalidate the timer earlier, like somewhere else. And we could probably do it on the results view. But once I hit next, it validates the timer and restarts it. So male turkey is called, we'll call it a Tom. All right, so I got one question right, and my question was 870, and it's still going. So I'm not too happy with this timer continuously running. Let's make sure we invalidate it when you get it wrong. So if it's incorrect, let's find a good place to put this. So in my content view, I believe we start the timer. My choice view grid, if choice is correct, so let's do something like this. Let's just invalidate the timer. So let's do something like that, and we will just put something in our view model here. It's going to complain, of course. So all I'm going to do in here is just invalidate this timer. So the timer just doesn't keep running when they get a wrong answer. So let's see, they get a wrong answer. Great, it invalidates my timer. Next question starts. So I did not start the timer back up, so I'll have to go fix that now. So because I've invalidated the timer, I need to recreate the timer on my view. So we're going to try to do that. So one of the things I will want to modify is, again, sometimes the on appear doesn't work out real well for me. So let's try moving this over to this results view. And so right now I have this on appear, it'll do a next question. But rather than that, what I'm going to do is say, if someone taps something, then I am going to ask it to run the next question here. Okay, and I'm going to remove this part here. On appear. I think that is correct. And let's see if this works out a little bit better. Again, I think some of the issues with timers has to do with the timing of everything. So let's get this one wrong. Let's try the next question. Yeah, so there we go. So now it's working correctly, and all I really did was move this from on appear down to this area over here. Again, it's just on appear sometimes is very finicky for me. Just personal preference, and I guess, a very hacky way of doing it. But there you have it. That's with the progress timer. I guess in the end also you could add a reset button. And I would imagine that if we do a reset button, you would want to basically go back to the content view, but instead of, well, let's see if we can do it. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I'll just do another navigation link here. We'll call it reset, right? And we're going to call this reset set quiz. And so in our view model, let's do a new function. We'll call it reset quiz. And probably for this, we'll want to basically go over here. We're going to recreate this quiz engine. We're going to make this current question 0 again. So let's do that. Let's invalidate our timer as well. So let's just make sure we don't have a timer running. Right, so we're going to current question is 0, right? Because the array starts at 0, so we're going to set this to 0. Then we also want to probably reset this, right? The number correct you have is also going to be 0. The total score is also going to be 0. Because you're resetting everything. So let's see, we have all of that. And then we do want to just build the model again. So let's create our quiz engine here. Do we need to do that? Let me think. Maybe not. Let's see what this does actually. So let's go ahead and answer our questions. Okay, so we have, let's answer Alaska is correct, and then make sure our score adding is correct. So I'll say Tom as well. Make it to about 800. And then this one, it's 2, 1700, so let's hit reset. So yep, so it starts all over. Hopefully the score also reset. 900, and get this one wrong. All right, so there you go. So hopefully this helps. At this point, really, it's just all aesthetics and what you want to do here. Maybe you want to change the pictures, maybe you want to add more questions, but you really have the core of your model here and your quiz here. And you could also add some music later on if you really wanted to using AV Foundation. Maybe I'll do that as a part 5 someday, but I wanted to finish it up, and I wanted to clean up a little bit of the hacky code that I did, which was that let underscore thing. So hopefully this helps, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.